All right, back at it. Actually made it here before dark. It's not quite as frigid, even though it is snowing outside. It's not warm by any means, but it might be 30 instead of 20. Oh. Just a quick practice session. I got more work to do. I think especially when it's snowing or raining for that matter, I can't resist, having an indoor spot. You gotta hit some golf balls. Probably hit some more later too, but just a quick warm-up practice session. See what happens. Felt good. Nice first swing. Maybe it's a touch thin, if anything. A little low on the face. It's kind of that pro thin though. I did take a divot. It was just after contact. It's not like my club was just hovering off the ground and my low point didn't get far enough down. It was just so far in front of the ball, it hit kind of low on the face. Anyway. Yeah. Like that. That was the opposite issue. This one should be right in the middle. Just don't knock over the space heater. It was right in the middle too. I said first one was a little thin. Second one I chunked it off the toe. And that third one was perfect. Sometimes the first swing, comes out all right because you're not thinking about anything that time it didn't. But then the next few swings might not be so good. It's almost like every time you warm up, you gotta kind of recalibrate the swing and kind of hone in on that sweet spot again. That's why I love being able to at least hit half a basket of balls before I play. You can just kind of remember your swing thoughts, any feels. Like that one felt nice. There it was. That was the swing, dead center. But I mostly wanted to go over a couple things to maybe help a couple different people that were asking some questions and concerns about their own swings. It's mostly why I wanted to record. And like I said, I can't resist. Nice snowy day, hitting some golf balls. Good. Knock that thing over. That one was a little bit favoring the heel, a little heely. But what I wanted to talk about was kind of keeping on the topic that I've been talking a lot about, kind of just like the backswing. The backswing, it really does set you up for the rest of your swing. There's a lot of ways to make a backswing correctly, but there's also a lot of ways to make a backswing incorrectly. Like I'm talking a lot about, you want to swing with all your heart. If you had a breast pocket, bring that back with you. So that club, when I come back here, straighten that club still in front of me. If I use just arms, I would turn and the club would be over here. So you want to take that one piece takeaway, yada yada. Watch my old video, my last couple videos for that. But anyway, I wanted to elaborate more on, talk a lot about, you can use like the glove drill or the towel drill. And I know I've mentioned this more than a few times. It doesn't stay just like pinned, connected the whole time. The glove drill is kind of good for making little 3/4 swings. But at the top, there should be a little bit of disconnection because you're essentially making a circle is the golf swing, and the wider you can make that circle, the faster you can move that club head. So you don't want to be swinging in close to yourself, making a tight circle. You want to get your hands as far, like you want to feel at the top of your swing that your hands are basically as far from your head as possible. You don't want them in close, making a small circle. You want on the backswing wide as I can get the club. I'm making that circle as big as I possibly can so I can get the most amount of speed. But again, A lot of people tend to get a little flat, which I don't mind a little flat. You know, if you're kind of like here in your swing, that's a pretty good spot, because then you're just, boom, you're right on plane. You don't have to move at all. But you can get a little too flat and a little too hingy. And what I see usually is that that arm stays a little too tucked. A lot of times you see the opposite with like a flying elbow, but this issue I'm talking about is the elbow almost goes in back of your back. You see how there's a little daylight right here? So to fix that, you want to keep your hands as far, like base my hands are towards the camera as far as I can get them. I got a little bit of it, you want to separate a little bit there. And feel like your elbow stays on this side of your body. It never gets behind your back. It stays, you know, it almost feel like it's staying like here in front of you. That's an exaggeration, because ideally, you know, you're somewhere right around here. It'd be about perfect, and you can see how there's that gap there. This isn't quite a 90 degree. You watch most pros, it's not like, it's almost a 90 degree, but it's a little more than 90 degrees. You don't want to get less than 90 degrees with that arm. You're leaving a lot of power in the tank. If you get this angle too short, if your arm is pinned against you here, you're leaving some in the tank. So you can still be flat, but get that stretch still and get that nice width. Because width, you know, is basically, my hands are as far from my head as they're fully extended, as much width as I could potentially make. But depth is different. This is a lot of depth with a lot of width. This is a lot of depth with not a lot of width. You can see I'm a lot closer. I've made that circle smaller. So you want as much width as possible and still getting that depth. You know, you don't want to get too steep. If you get real steep, you're going to have to drop your arms and your hands down here. You're going to keep it nice and wide, as far away from you as you can. And a lot of that starts off the ball. It's a hard habit to break, but you don't really use your hands and your wrist to start your backswing. That's a big mistake, is kind of bringing the club like this, how it kind of starts to the inside. Because then if I do this, I'm going to, you see, you're going to have to like manipulate a bunch of things. Normally what will happen when someone does this is the club ends up getting real inside, but then getting steep at the top. But then the other thing that can happen is you just kind of keep it inside, and again, you'll get that kind of pinched elbow behind you feeling. So what the feel I like is to, when you're, you know, over the ball, even if, say, you even have a little stronger grip than I do, how there's this little bit of a cup, you know, it's not just dead flat. I'm not doing this with a dead square wrist. There's a little bit of a cup right here. So I just try to not move that. Keep, you know, I don't use my hands at all, neither hand really, but just maintain that cup going back, nice and wide. At some point, it's going to fold. And at that point, you want to let that wrist then flatten. You know, you're kind of keeping it cupped, and then flatten. What I see a lot of is they flattening it off the ball. You see I got it cupped, and then I'm losing that off the ball by dragging the club inside. I'm losing that angle, dragging the club inside. So then when I get to the top, you kind of go the other way, and you end up with a cupped wrist. And then at that point, you're either going to swing down with your wrist still cupped, or you're going to then have to hit reverse and then flatten your wrist again. So the best, like I said, the easiest way is to just don't use your hands. And I've talked about this drill before. Great drill, 2 golf. It's amazing what you do with a second golf ball. So many different drills with 2 balls. But you know, here's another golf ball right behind the one you're going to hit. And just real slow, feel like you push that ball back. And if anything, almost feel like it's going not inside, but a little outside. You want to overcorrect. So if before you were doing this and kind of pushing it like kind of inside, you want to feel like feel the opposite, to overcorrect the issue. You know, you want to feel like you're pushing it out that way. And then you see how the club can stay out of my hands, and then just the weight of the club wants to go that way afterwards. See, if I bring it to the top, I'm holding it very lightly, just letting the weight, I can pull this out of my hands if I wanted, very lightly. If I just keep it there, passive, outside the ball, the weight of the club wants to pull my hand over into that nice bow, that nice flexion. But if I'm already in that flexion off the ball, I'm either just holding on to the weight where I'm then going to throw it over, because you know that momentum's got to go somewhere. That's why it's just always better to not have that until your transition. The club wants to be falling into flexion. You don't want to be throwing out of flexion or into flexion, and then you're basically, whatever you do, if you have like flexion or extension, you're kind of like going to go to the opposite one, because the club needs to go somewhere. It's going to be the general pattern, not always. You can always manipulate a club. There's always exceptions, of course. So what I mean by there's a lot of different okay backswings is you can take it out here, very Ricky Fowler, and get steep, as long as you can come into the planer like a Justin Thomas. I almost said Jamie Thomas, real famous professional skateboarder. But Justin Thomas, you can bring it inside and stay connected. You just don't want to be armsy. And that inside can lead to a lot of things, so you don't want to overdo it. I was suggesting over-exaggerating and overcompensating, like over-correcting the issue, to then find the middle ground. It's okay if you get a little inside. It's just, if your issue is you're getting it real far inside sometimes, you're getting, too much inside is a lot harder to work with. And if that's your issue, I think it's going to do you a lot of good to just try to not use the hands. Keep your hands really passive in the first half of the backswing. I'm not using my hands at all. I just feel like it's my arms are just moving back. I've heard it explained like this shoulder is kind of bringing everything back. Everything's staying together. I'm not using my hands. I don't need to bring the club with my hands back. Another thing to keep the club outside from going inside. This feel doesn't feel that great to me, but I know it's worked with a lot of people, is pushing the handle straight down between your feet. Because look, if I push the handle down, see how the club kind of works out that way? You can't really push the handle down and get it inside. That's an awkward move. So that might be, it works for some people where they like that feeling of pushing the handle down, like down where this golf ball is where I feel the pressure going. You can see how the club kind of comes out this way. But that's, again, there's different ways to do it. That's more of a hinging off the ball, kind of a David Ledbetter. I've always been a lot more of a fan of the passive takeaway where you don't use your hands, because then I feel like when the time comes to use my hands, it's in that transition and everything just seems to flow so much better, and it's almost like that feels more powerful than hinging and then kind of hinging in the beginning. I feel like I'm leaving power on the table, but I'm not saying it's wrong to hinge early, but that grip down method is more of an early hinge type backswing. I should really plan some of these videos because I'm just freestyling out here. I had a rough idea of what I wanted to talk about. I hope that's making sense. Keeping the hands out just a little, like the feel might be, if you were doing this, it's going to feel like you're doing this just to get the club to go here. And that's why I have a giant mirror. Basically, the phone isn't straight back. The straight back is like here. So the mirror is like right underneath there. The phone's a little off to the side, but for all intents and purposes, underneath the phone, I have a big mirror right here where I can, make slow motion practice swings. And So I'm talking a lot about getting the club out, not getting the club inside. Where the perfect spot, where perfect square is, I think most people would say you do want the club a little bit outside of your hands, but really dead square is, if this is a parallel line right here on my toes, is kind of the club right there, hands right there, this edge matching my spine angle, right about there. And then it's just a turn to the top, and you're kind of, Tiger 2000s at that point. Boom. I kind of like to get just a little bit more of that wrist movement in there, because my habit is to bring the club inside a little bit and come over the top. So I work real hard on almost feeling this a little more than I actually do it. I do it such a tiny amount that I'm basically staying, like my hands stay on one plane, but the club is like almost not, it's almost doing the same exact thing back and through, but it's just a little bit favoring the out to in. But the feel for me is, is very much like this a lot of times. And that's because you need to exaggerate and overdo. If my tendency is to come inside and over the top a hair, I need to feel like I'm going the other way, and it just kind of neutralizes it, and you got to meet in the middle. That's a big mistake is, people take the ball or the club inside or outside or whatever it is they do, and they're like, okay, I'll just take it more straight back. I'll just take it, or, I just won't come over the top. I just won't come over the top. And it's like just trying to swing perfectly from your flawed positions almost never works. You're almost just you feel like you're doing it, but you're just gonna do what you've always been doing without really feeling the exaggeration. Like the amount of times I felt like I was, basically letting the club fall and hit my back foot, as Mo Norman would say. Or I've seen this drill where you kind of throw a shaft right behind your foot, kind of pointing at the ball at a rough 45, and you kind of feel like the club is matching, parallel over that on the way down. That's an exaggeration. You wouldn't want to have to hit the ball from there, because you're just going to hit flip hooks or straight pushes all day. You don't want to be coming that far inside, but just that exaggerated feel is going to counteract things. It's all about finding that happy medium, and when you're correcting your flaws, if you're going, say 0 is perfect, no matter the swing position, if it's plane, if it's grip, 0 is perfect. You can go plus in one direction, you can go minus in one direction. So if you're a +3 or 4 in this direction of a swing flaw, you need to go to -3 or 4 to get back to 0, to be able to hone your swing into 0. You can't just go from 4 to 0. It almost never works that way. And that's why exaggerating the corrections for your swing flaws is so important. So flush. What is that? Oh, I forgot I hit that when I was lining up with the shaft. I just hit a little flip shot from halfway down. It just doinked it off the toe. But that was in the middle with the rest of them. Besides that one doinker that I was just messing around, flipping the club through. Oh yeah, let's try that drill. I have not done that drill in a long time. It's one of the hardest drills. It's Tiger Woods' least favorite drills. So let's not practice it in a really long time. I haven't even tried 1 or 2 of these in months. So let's do that on camera now. So basically the drill is, you get to the top, and this drill is great for every player. You get to the top, check your swing. I kind of like having a mirror for this, because I can look at the mirror instead of having to go like all the way back at my hands. But you essentially, set up like you're going to hit a shot. Take the club back, take a look, and then back down to ball, and then hit. That was actually damn flush. I didn't go do too great at wiping the old ball marks off, but you can see that one was right in the middle of the old ball marks flush. Set up. Take it back. And I see I'm right there. I'm trying to get a little more here. So I might not even hit that one. Nope, still we'll see. And then fire. Make sure you're in the position you want. And that's again why a mirror is super useful. You can kind of do what I'm doing now. I'm just recording on my cell phone. So I can see myself, but it is a, just a tiny screen compared to an actual mirror. Mirrors aren't that expensive. You can get them for $20 realistically for a big enough mirror. Maybe even cheaper at a garage sale or something. But I should honestly do this drill more. And not only get to, you force yourself to learn how to get into the positions you're trying to get into at the top of your swing, but that is just so good for hand-eye coordination. Another one is just, same thing if you're having trouble with your backswing, the old hinge, and kind of make sure you're there where you get parallel. You don't want to be inside, you don't want to be outside. I thought I saw something smoking over there. You don't want to be inside, don't want to be outside, but hinge back, and I kind of I'm looking at my club right now, making sure it's there. And then just kind of take it back and swing. Left the club face open, but the strike was good. Just kind of take it back. Swing. It's another really good drill if you're struggling to get into the backswing position. And again, the wide that I was talking about, keeping your hands as far away as possible, really helps because you don't want this arm to really collapse. And I said before, I'm okay if I don't mind personally at least, if I get just a tiny bit, my arm does that. But if that fully collapses and you just kind of swing real long with your hands, your body is going to be at impact, here, and your club's still back here. So what you're going to have to do is you're swinging long and your body goes, and you're going to have to start to flip and release early to catch your club back up with your hands. But if you were to just, basically keep that arm straight, by the time your body's at impact, the club's there too. It's not back here where you would have been either spinning out, pushing it right, or you had to throw the club early to play catch up. Does that make sense? That arm staying straight, combined with as big of a shoulder chest turn as you can, basically the golf swing is that. It's that shoulder turn. So you don't want your arms, if that's kind of where everything goes to, that should be the end of your swing. You don't want your arms to keep going, because now when everything's going towards the ball again, you're going to have all that extra space to make up for that extra distance rather that your arms went to make up for. You're going to end up learning to throw the club to play catch up, and you're going to lose distance too. It might feel less powerful, but just feeling like that arm just stays straight, nice and far away from your body, and almost. If your issue is that what I was talking about earlier, where you get it real flat and this elbow behind your back and it's almost like you're too connected, don't even feel connected. Feel the opposite. Feel almost like a flying elbow, not in the sense that it's this way, but it's just feel disconnection. Feel like your right arm at the top is as straight as you can get it. Most pros are greater than 90 degrees at the top. Less than 90 degrees at this angle is bad. You want to be, a little over 90 degrees. You should be right there. So it's a little over 90. So you want to feel like, if that's your issue especially, feel like that arm gets like that. You don't want to get in small, have that small circle. It's no good. Hit the ball better doing the drill. I gotta get back to work pretty soon. Get a few more. Much better. Man, my toes are freezing. I keep stepping back up on the mat, hoping it keeps my feet a little warmer than just the bare concrete. A little insulation, but my toes are cold. Try some a little bit lower shots. I love that kind of little Tommy Fleetwood feel. I've always loved a good knockdown shot, maybe choke up, choke down, whatever you want to say. Technically it's up, but down also makes sense as you're literally going down. But just kind of a dead-armed almost swing where you don't feel like you're really using your hands. It's just kind of this. Again, it's just kind of using your chest turn to hit the ball. I mean, that's kind of what you're doing anyway, just with a little bit extra oomph from your arms and hands. But this is just a great shot in general, just that little knockdown shot. Kind of pulled it a little. Getting the face a little closed at impact. Pushing out a little bit. Those are all fairly flush. They weren't the best, honestly. A little all over the place. But I am freezing. I think I'm going to call this video about there. I just wanted to talk about a few things. I'm going to put my boots back on and get my toes back where I can feel something other than just tingling pain in them. So keep it real, keep it metal. Peace.